sixth season. Our kickoff show, you know these guys so well. Ron Rigney, James Knight, I'm Bob Lung, all at Big Guy Fantasy Sports. We're missing Colby, but hey, if we put him on, then we probably, have all the girls watching. It gets ugly. So we're going to talk about fantasy football. We're going to talk about consistency. We're going to talk about ADPs, by position. We've got a lot to fill your ears with from now through, next January. So let's hit it next. Love that. Haven't heard that in a while. Rock on, people. Anybody who's into tribute bands, I know I'm now into them because that's all I can go see. There's a Metallica one called Four Horsemen. If they ever come to your area and you're a Metallica fan, even to the slightest, go see them. They're amazing. So good. Anyway, welcome back to the show. We're here to talk about fantasy football, not tribute bands. But hey, you never know. We might get in the conversation. Gentlemen, welcome back. The Consistency Guide's been out for folks who no idea what we're talking about. You can get that on Amazon. It's the annual magazine that we put out, all about the consistency of the players, help you be a better manager, drafter, based on that material that will make the difference between you and the people that you're drafting with, the people that you're playing against. It is what is going to get you to the playoffs. Hopefully you still win a title, but you can't win a title if you don't get to the playoffs. So, Ron, I know you and James both have had some time to look at the book, and obviously you did some proofreading for me, as you usually do, Ron, because I suck at English, and you're a teacher, so there's that. But Ron, talk about just, one thing that just off the top of your head just caught your eye and is really kind of went like, interesting stuff out of the book this year.
Yeah, I can English a little bit. I'm not, a Rhodes Scholar or anything, but I do all right. But the thing that I love about the guide every year that I think we do the best job of is in the player profiles. And with the player profiles, I know every guide's got them. I know every guide you can flip through and you can get that information about that player. But I feel like for the space that we use, we pound as much stuff in there as we can. We're telling you what we got last year. We're telling you what to expect this year. We're giving you the ADP, where it's at when the guide's printed. We give you a little bit about, do we feel good about this ADP? Are we bowing out? But we give you that consistency data from the last 3 years against good, bad, and mediocre defenses. I feel like for the amount of money that you spend on that, plus the amount of money that if you pony up for the site, those player profiles are probably one of the best things that we put out. And then I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna do two here. So I hope I don't steal James's. I still believe we got the best draft sheet in the game, hands down. Tell you what you should be getting, where you should be getting it. We got those ADPs that get updated all summer. But those are always my two absolute favorite things, and I think we do them better than anybody does.
Awesome, I totally agree. James, what about you?
Well, hard to follow that, but I'm going to harp on something very, very similar, and it goes back to different things. You talk about books, and you talk about guides, you talk about things like that. The consistency guide is like the Bible. It's one of those things that it doesn't matter how long it's there, what it is. It gives you facts year over year over year. It's not just an opinion thing based on whatever the newest trend is and does that. It has so much information for everybody when you look through it. And that's, like Ron was just saying, the player profiles, the different stuff you go through. It's not just, hey, I'm going to take this 3-game small sample size last year and make this guy look like a star. It's year over year over year,
Right.
And like I said, it stands the test of time to that. So many people show up at a draft or do that and have a guide or do something, and you're like, oh, that's going to be rough for them. They show up with this guide, you're probably in trouble, and that's something that you really have to look at. Like I said, the consistency is king, and this is the Bible of what that kind of guide is.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've mentioned this before. Over the last 10 plus years that the guide has been out, there have been people who've asked me, can I put my, do you mind if I do my own guide, my own consistency model, my own? And I'm like, absolutely. I go, this is not mine. I mean, in fact, I remember when I first started writing it, and I thought I had this miracle thing, and then I come to find out that what's his name from ESPN? Older guy, Tristan Cockcroft, already had it in 1999. Had it on the ESPN website before I even started looking at it in 2002. But he only did it once a year. He put it out at the beginning and said, here were the consistent players last year, but that was it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool that he did that. But it's like, why don't we have something during the season, like after every week? And, that's where all of these ideas, the trend reports and, the against the different defenses and home versus away and all that kind of stuff is just so important as you're looking through the season, start sits and whatever you need that for. And, but going back to Ron, that tier draft list, you don't need to take the book to the thing because you don't want to show the book. You just take your draft list. And if you need an updated copy, everybody who buys the book, just email me or hit me up on Twitter or whatever you can do to get a hold of me, and I will send you the updated. Now, if you buy the subscription to the site, which of course if you buy the book, you get $10 off the site, so it's $20 for the whole year. Every time I update the cheer draft list, I put it in there. You can download it anytime, most current version. But you just take that. That's all you need. If you're playing in just a typical 10-team, 12-team, you don't need many more players on that list than what you got. So take that with you. Don't take the guide because you don't want them to know your secret. And then when you kick their ass, then they'll be asking you, and I just have this one piece of paper. Oh, I don't even know anything. I'm just using one sheet.
That's one of my favorite things too, is taking that if you do your traditional live draft, where everybody rolls up and you do it in person, and everybody's got all these things they're working on and in spreadsheets and stuff, and I roll up with my pencil and I roll up with my paper and I'm just marking them off, and then you have that great draft, and like you said, everybody's just looking at you like, wow, you drafted in like 1985 or something. No, we just got the best thing going.
I do the King's Classic without the laptop. I take the book. Just because I want the book there, because I want to show them that they all know, but I take the book and just put the sheet in. But basically, I don't even take the book out of the amount of my case. I just put the piece of paper down and I start highlighting and, like you said, or scratching off. Like, okay, he's done. He's picked. Oh, that guy's available. Okay, cool. That's it. So I'm drafting against the best of the best, and making the playoffs in those groups. So and I know Ron, you've won one. James will win one, I'm sure. Probably before me, because I just can't seem to win the damn thing. And I'm perfectly fine with that. But at some point we need all of our big guy fantasy sports to have a belt. But we'll get there.
And we will.
But thank you guys for the kind words. I know that you guys are a big help during the season, as we prepare all this stuff. So let's kick it in here with let's take a look at these quarterbacks. We all know quarterbacks are slowly becoming the new tight ends, because the tight ends are just becoming the new trash. We're just moving tight ends out of the tight end world and just calling them trash. And then quarterbacks are becoming tight ends because you can't get hardly any over even 70%. I mean, last year there were 5 quarterbacks over 70% consistent. And actually one shouldn't even count because it's Jaden Daniels and he only played 7 games. So there you're down to 4, and you've got Jackson Dart at 71%. You've got Trevor Lawrence at 71%. And you have, and Jacoby Brissett at 71%. That's right, Jacoby Brissett was more consistent than Josh Allen. So, to all you Josh Allen fans. And Drake May, our God, at 82%. Number 1 in consistency, number 3 in total points, and number 1 in our hearts, because we were all about him last year. Thought he might have a significant improvement, and I'll be honest with you, he exceeded our expectations by far. But I've got Drake May as the number 1. I'm going to leave him there. AJ Brown is coming, so I believe that's got to help things tremendously. And that's where he sits. His X consistency last year was 19.43. Josh Allen was 17.78, so a 1.5 difference between number 1 and number 2. That is big. And if you go down to number 3, it drops down to 13.75. And yes, that was Jacoby Brissett, who's 3rd in X consistency. So if you don't know what that is, go to the website, you'll figure it out. But James, let's go to you. What quarterback did you really admire last year, and as you look into 2026, maybe you can put him as undervalued if you want, maybe he's just add value, but you just are kind of more often than not, is probably going to be your guy, depending on how you draft quarterbacks.
Yeah, and he was my guy last year. He had some ups and downs, and it's Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos. Coming into this year, he's got an ADP of 15, which I again think is too low. I see him as a
I think it's
QB1.
the injury that's got people scared right now.
I think it is, and I think there's a lot of that. And like I said, that's probably knocking him down. But too many people are afraid to get him up there and really put him where he needs to be. And like I said, he had a 47% clutch rate last year. He was only 8 out of 17 games. He finished the season as QB8 overall, despite that. Like you were just saying, the clutch rates and all the stuff being down. But the reasons that I'm in again this year is not only that he's Bo Nix and he's the Broncos quarterback. They brought in Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, exactly.
Finally, a wide receiver one in Denver. And we see what happens when guys like Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin were rolling. They were the speed guys last year in Denver, and they were anything but consistent. And Jalen Waddle is going to be able to bring that. He's the kind of guy that anytime he catches one of those slants or crossers, he can take that to the house. It's going to push Cortland Sutton to the second receiver as a possession guy, which he's been kind of masquerading as a wide receiver one for a few years. And again, Bo Nix, the injury is there. There is some, scares there in doing that. But he ran for 356 yards last year. It was 11th most amongst quarterbacks. And we might see some more of that depending on how that injury goes. But he also was third in the league in pass attempts. Sean Payton runs that offense, likes the quick hitters, does that. A big statistic for Bo Nix last year was his percentage of on-target throws. That spikes or throwaways, 77.4% of Bo Nix's passes last year were on target. That's ahead of Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, and even MVP Matthew Stafford last year. You compound that with the fact the Broncos had 43 drops last year, which were second in the NFL behind only Jacksonville. Yeah. Third had 30. So 43 drops is insane. Those on-target throws this year, I really think Nix is going to pick it up, and he's going to smash into the QB1 ranks, and he could be top 5 by the end of the year if he stays healthy and plays well.
Yeah, I definitely all over that. In fact, I've been doing a bunch of best ball drafts on drafters, and so I'm in the middle of one now, and I drafted Burrow in round 5, and then in round 10, everybody seemed to be going for their QB2s. It looked like they were going to start a run, and I grabbed Bo Nix as my backup because it's like, why not? He's there. It's round 10. Like, are you kidding me? So yeah, it's. Definitely the injury is scaring people, and I get that, but, I've also heard that he's going to be fine and just precautionary, which, of course, you do this time of year. So, Mr. Rigney, what do you got for us for your quarterback? I don't know where you're going to go, so it's going to be interesting.
It's really not that that outlandish where I'm going here. The guy that I'm going with, when you look at the ADP, he's down there a little bit. You don't have to wait too long to get him, but you don't have to invest a ton to go and get him. And he's a guy that I think gets overlooked quite a bit, and that's Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's sitting there at ADP. I think he's at 95 if I look correctly, and
QB13, 95 overall.
I don't think that's bad. A couple reasons I like that. Number one, they add Mike Evans. I mean, I know it's not Mike Evans of 7 years ago, but it's still Mike Evans who's pretty damn solid. I believe in Ricky Pearsall. They signed Christian Kirk too, which not expecting Christian Kirk to be more than about a wide receiver 3, which that's where he slots in on that team. Right. Of course, Brock Purdy behind him has one of the best weapons in all of football, all of fantasy. Solid offensive line. But the thing about Brock Purdy, he came in last year after the injury. Injuries scare me a tiny bit with him, but he came in 7-2, picked up right where he left off, 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. But the thing that I was most intrigued about when I looked at his numbers from last year, he ran for, I believe, about 150 yards and 3 touchdowns in those 9 starts. The year before that, he made 15 starts. He ran for 323 yards and 5 touchdowns. You don't look at Brock Purdy as, like you look at like a Caleb Williams or, even a Josh Allen. And so the rushing numbers are a little bit deceiving, but if you can get anything near that, if they can keep him upright, I think he's a guy that I feel real good about paying for. And at some point, they're going to have George Kittle back, and when George Kittle's in the lineup, George Kittle's one of the best to do it. It's just you got to get him in the lineup. Coming off a pretty big injury at age 33, might slow him down a little bit, but that's just going to be you draft Brock Purdy. Whenever he gets back, that's going to be a nice little bonus if you get him. But that's a guy, too, that I think is a super affordable pick. And if you can get him anywhere below that 95, this is just the average. So that means there's certain drafts where he's going lower than that. I'll be happy to pay that all day long and get that QB1 production.
And again, he could be also one of those guys that if you took somebody early like a Burrow or whatever, you draft Purdy as your backup in round 9 or 10. Or, depending. Again, it depends on where you're drafting, right? I mean, King's Classic, it's always quarterback chicken. So, you can draft Purdy in round 10 easily as your backup. But, yeah, these guys love to play that. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to the running back position. Ron, we'll start with you. Who is your running back that you like for best value, or it could be an overvalued one that you don't like? Either one we'll take, but what do you got?
So there's guys a little bit lower end that I like, and I'll give you a couple of those. I won't say too much about them, but the one guy that I look at the very front of the draft, and I'm kind of going the opposite of where I see a lot of people going with him, is Devon Achane. And you look at that offense, there ain't much in the wide receiver cupboard. I know they've spent some draft picks on some guys that could pan out. Went after Malik Willis, which I don't think is bad fantasy purposes. He's a cheap option. He's got that rushing ability, look nice as filling in for Jordan Love in Green Bay. But Devon Achane was the offense. Devon Achane is going to be the offense. He's going to get the ball. He's going to carry it. He's going to catch it. He's going to do everything. And if you've been over to the site the last few weeks, I've been previewing the division offensive lines, and one of the lines that I was kind of surprised that I liked it as much as I did was that Miami Dolphin one. As much as they're going to be a train wreck, spent a first-round pick on the offensive line, they added some free agents. I think they know what they're going to have to do to try to at least stay competitive in games. I don't know how many they're going to win, but I know that it's going to be Devon Achane early, it's going to be Devon Achane often, and it's going to be PPR. I think he's going to be the guy that you're going to want. I think he could really push. As long as he stays healthy, he could push for that at least top 3 in total points, and I think he's going to be consistent. And again, it's not just going to be because of rushing. He's going to catch the ball as well, but he's going to be everywhere.
Well, and he was the only player last year to go 16 for 16, 100% consistency on a train wreck that was last year. They had Jalen Waddle, but didn't do much. Tyreek was a waste. Tua was all over the place. Offensive line was garbage. And he still was 100% consistent and was 5th in total points. So, and I think from what I've seen, his ADP is running back 7, which is no surprise. But it's around 13, 14. So it's like if you were into those 1-2 punches at the end, like you could go maybe James Cook, Devon Achane. You could go, Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker. I mean, you could do a heck of a twist there at 1-2 if you wanted to. So, I feel like, there you're getting him as your 2, and but they're pretty even with the others. So, definitely love that. James, I'm assuming you're going to see James Cook, but maybe you won't because you were just so in love with him last year. I feel like maybe the romance is over, but what do you got to say?
Let me scroll down on my sheet a little bit here since we're not going to do James Cook. Honestly, I could do Cook, but he's finally getting some love, and I like that.
He's
but
up there.
I'm going to finally piggyback a segue off of what Ron was just saying here, and I'm going to go with the new Mike McDaniel running back, Amari Hampton. For the Chargers. The fact that he's going to have Mike McDaniel, who has schemed so much, done so much, made running backs everywhere he's been just absolutely phenomenal, that's one thing. So whoever the starting running back was going to be for Mike McDaniel, you're going to love. That was Devon Achane. We watched him turn into that player, and he just dominated. Well, like I said, we already saw what he did there. And then Hampton, we only saw him for 9 games last year. He still finished as the RB35 overall. He had 67% CR, his clutch rate, 6 out of 9 games. And one of the biggest things about that was Achane played in 16 games last year, right? He ended up the season with, I think it was 22 broken tackles. Hampton played in 9 games and had 15. So I'm starting to put this stuff together in my head. I'm like, okay, well, what's another stat we can look at? Well, yards before contact, both Achane and Hampton averaged 2.7 yards per, before contact. That's crazy to think about. With the Chargers, they were moving stuff all around on their offensive line, doing all kinds of crazy things. And they didn't have Mike McDaniel scheming, touches out of the backfield and doing stuff. I think if Hampton stays healthy, and there's another one kind of like Nick's, I know he's coming off an injury and doing some stuff, And his ADP has him, I think, at RB10, in the grouping. I think he's got a legit shot, if he stays healthy, to go up there and compete for that top 3 spot and, kind of put up Achane type numbers. They have Kamani Vidal there, who I don't think they really believed in beforehand. And, he did well as a fill-in. They brought in Keaton Mitchell from the Ravens. There's really not anybody who's going to stop Hampton from getting 20-25 schemed up Mike McDaniel touches. And that is exciting,
Yeah, I mean, all we can hope for is he plays more than 9 games. I think is the biggest key for all of us, right? It's basically the Christian McCaffrey rule. It's like, well, if you can play all the games, we think you're going to be awesome. But we hope that was just a fluke injury last year, and he'll hopefully he's in better. I don't know if say better shape, but I'm sure just making sure he's prepared for this year after last year's injuries. So definitely love that. Yeah, I mean, I've got him at 13. ADP is 10, so I've got him a little bit lower than others. I think it's just because there's so many good running backs ahead of Hampton that I'm like, Now I get it, and I'll just say this now: nobody likes Kyron Williams at all again this year, except me. I have him. I actually moved him down to 12. I had him as high as 8. I was like, all right, fine. Maybe it's a little high, but you know what he did last year, right? 82% consistency, 6th in total overall consistency, 9th in total points. Yes, Blake Corum's there. Yes, I get it, but they say this every year. Blah blah blah. We're going to share more time. Blah blah blah, and he still gets the ball. Even in the playoffs where they thought Corum was going to get the ball more, it still didn't happen. I'm still higher on Corum or on Williams than most. He's running back 15 ADP. I got him at 12, so it's not terribly out of whack. But that's not the guy I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about one of our favorite running backs over the past few years. Didn't give us the consistency that we loved last year, but we all love him, and we're so happy that he has been freed from the wretched Dan Campbell grasp. And David Montgomery now gets to be David Montgomery, the bell cow back. And granted, I get he's not young spring chicken anymore, but he doesn't have a lot of mileage on him because he was playing with Jahmyr Gibbs. But the interesting thing is, man, I mean, talk about getting no love. Right now, his ADP is running back 23, round 5, and I've got him at 15. I know it sounds high, but, Houston went out. I wish Colby was here because I'm sure he would be praising the offensive line movements that they went. I think you did, Ron, in your thing too. You were talking about how well Houston has improved their offensive line. They seem focused on Montgomery being the guy. Yes, Woody Marks will spell him occasionally, but if Montgomery stays healthy, I don't see any reason why he can't be a high RB2, could even sneak into the RB1, especially consistency-wise, which is what he did in Detroit. But Ron, talk about that offensive line since you've done this work on it, just to kind of share with the improvements that Houston has made and why I have, again, renewed love and respect for Monty.
Well, it's pretty clear that you can see exactly what they want to do, coming into this season. And again, one of the things that kind of helps that out a little bit is C.J. Stroud's got one of the easier schedules as well. But they signed a lot of their own guys. They did get rid of Laramie Tunsil. They brought Trent Brown back. They spent a couple draft picks on some guys. It's again, you kind of caught me off guard here. I'm not going to go too in depth because I don't want to take too much of the thunder here. But the bottom line is what you need to know is it's very clear what they want to do. Now, whatever they can get from C.J. Stroud, they do have a pretty talented wide receiver room as well. But they brought, like you said, Monty in for a reason. They've still got Woody Marks there, but it's a D'Amico Ryans mindset. We're going to pound you on defense, and we're going to pound you on offense too. Right. But as I'm looking through these, as I've seen this, one thing I do remember very well about their line is it's going to be one of the more improved ones that you're going to see. It all boils down to health, as it does for every position, but very clear what the mindset is going into Houston.
Yeah, definitely. So
I think because of that RB1 spot there a year ago, before Joe Mixon fell off a cliff and disappeared into the abyss, people were drafting Joe Mixon high because he was going to be that bell cow in Houston that was going to eat while their defense ate,
Yeah,
and
right.
Monty's stepping right into that, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm just, I guess Monty's never gotten the love and respect, except from us, of course. But I thought for sure, okay, now he's going to a team that he's going to be the man. And to be honest with you, wide running back 23 is where he used to go when he was the backup to get him. So don't know what this man's got to do. So hopefully he proves himself worthy, and it helps all of our teams. If in this year, I know he'll be on many of mine. All right, let's move to wide receivers. James, who's a wide receiver that you see a lot of value as of this point going into the summer?
I am going to target the guy that came out on fire last year and then kind of fell off down the stretch of Mika Egbuka. I think with Mike Evans moving on, I know Godwin's going to be back and do some things there. Everything to me screams that he's going to now be the man in Tampa Bay and take on the role. They're going to get Jalen McMillan back. That's great. Like I said, Chris Godwin's going to be there and do that. But they need an alpha there, and they're going to pass the ball and do a lot of things. And his ADP is 41 overall. He's the wide receiver 19. I think if he gets that 120, 130, plateau of targets like he's easily going to get in Tampa Bay, you're going to see him easily outproduce that and probably be borderline wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. And we already know what he can do. We saw his efficiency at the beginning of the year, and we saw how he got targeted and what he could do there. So I really think we're going to see him jump ahead of a lot of names as this year progresses.
Yeah, no, I am surprised by like you said, the wide receiver 19. I don't know if that second half last year just scared everybody, like, oh, Baker's done, he sucked, he was hurt, blah, blah, blah. But they're all back healthy, and like you said, it's an elderly Chris Godwin and some younger kids. And like this Ted Hurst kid has looked pretty good in camp, and maybe he'll help a little bit, but Ibuka's going to be the man, that's for sure. Ron, who are you digging on this so far this year?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but there's more 49ers love coming, and that's going to be Ricky Pearsall. Again, guy that we've seen him nicked up quite a bit, but when he was in there last year, he played, I believe he played 9 games. He was targeted 53 times in those 9 games. We have no idea what's happening with Brandon Ayuk other than he's not going to be a 49er at some point. He'll probably get released in camp, I'm sure. I don't know if anybody at this point is willing to spend a draft pick, but you never know. George Kittle, like I said, is going to be out to start the season. And behind Pearsall and Mike Evans, like I talked about with Christian Kirk, but there's not a lot in that wide receiver room beyond those guys. So, again, with George Kittle out, somebody's going to have to be targeted. I know, again, you've got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield. He's going to be targeted. But for where you're getting Ricky Pearsall, I think he's going like round 8 right now, round 9. And when you scroll down on our sheet, you got to scroll down pretty far to find him. But at that point, he's probably going to be, if I can get him as my wide receiver 3, maybe, I'm pretty happy with that.
I'm thinking you can get him as your 4 or 5 at this point based on these drafts that I've been doing on drafters. I think I picked him in round 10 recently. I mean,
even better. And
right. It's like, why not? He's my wide receiver 4 or 5. I'm all good with that.
And I think that's, again, like I said, I talked about how much I think Brock Purdy's going to make strides this year, and there's weapons around him. So, there's enough around Ricky Pearsall that he's not the only guy, but I think it's going to be one of those, Mike Evans is going to kind of be the little bit more downfield threat. Pearsall's going to be kind of that more moving the chains kind of guy. Plus, there's no way he can't score. He's not going to score a touchdown. Had no touchdowns last year. Had 3 as a rookie. I think it's a pretty safe bet. We see about like 5 to 7 touchdowns out of him, but his main thing is if he stays healthy. But if he does, man, you got some definite value in Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I've got so many this year that I just like. I feel are grossly undervalued. Starting with AJ Brown. Well, I guess he's not undervalued, but he's going to get the ball a lot. But I think I'm going to go with the guy that just has surprised me of where he is ADP wise. And I've done some drafts, like I said, I've done some drafter best balls, and he's in that range, but usually by the time I get to it, I'm usually going a different direction. But it's Zay Flowers with the Ravens. Last year, 7th in total points, 5th in consistency amongst all wide receivers at 82%. So, folks, he's ahead of CeeDee Lamb. He's ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's ahead of Justin Jefferson, which I get it. He had a down year. Nico Collins, blah, blah. I could go on and on and on. 5th in consistency. 8th in X-consistency, which is always one of our things I look at. His ADP right now is wide receiver 17. Still going in round 4. So, okay, he's not like way back. But if you can get him... Now, I think I did a draft where I did 3 straight receivers. I feel like I got Flowers as my 3rd guy. Maybe no, I got Malik Neighbors as my 3rd. Maybe I got Flowers as my 2nd. But I just feel like he's got good value. There's nobody there to take anything away. I mean, still Rashad Bateman and whatever other garbage they have. Mark Andrews is 105 years old, likely is gone. Derrick Henry's going to run the ball, and Lamar Jackson needs to get his act together. So I feel like there's really nothing to change for Zay Flowers, so why not grab him? And especially when he's falling in the area with like Garrett Wilson and Ibuka and that, it's like, okay, I'm going to go with the guy who's the number 1. Yeah, Ibuka's maybe the number 1, but I just feel like I'd rather get him at this point. Not a lot of people are agreeing with me out there. I will say that, because when I keep looking, I keep waiting for his ADP to go up, and it actually has went down since the last time. I think he was 17 before, or 15 before. Now he's down to 17. So whatever the case may be, it is what it is. Maybe it's the change in coaches. I don't know. But I feel like this wide receivers this year, there is a lot of question marks. Like, even as high as Puka. Like, is Puka okay? Is Puka going to bite somebody else? I don't know. Like, the draft I did recently that I had the 3rd pick, I took Chase. I'm like, yep, that's it. Gibbs is gone. Bijan's gone. Jamar Chase. Because if him and, Burrow stay healthy, you know what happened a few years ago when he was just beat everybody like by 100 points and was 100% consistent. So, yeah, I mean, there's this, I don't know. What about you guys? Do you look at this wide receiver world and go, boy, there's just a lot of very good guaranteed picks. Like, this doesn't seem to be, I know that there's good players. Like, we know who Nico Collins is. We know who CeeDee Lamb is and, Amon-Ra St. Brown. But it's like, okay, can Devontae Smith be the number 1? He's never been the number 1. It's like, what are they going to do? It's like, and Garrett Wilson with, who next for quarterback? Geno Smith. Is Pickens going to play for Dallas? Is DJ Moore still got it if he's got Josh Allen? I mean, there's just so many things out there that I just go, oh, boy. You guys have any different opinions? I just wonder what your guys' thoughts were.
Well, I know when we sat down to do this, I can tell you that wide receiver was probably the toughest one for me to find. A guy that I really felt was like, okay, here's where he's getting drafted. Here's where I think I'd like to get him, and I think he can outperform that. But and again, as you're going down naming these guys, a lot of quarterback questions, some offensive line questions, some questions about
a lot of new coaches.
A lot of new coaches, a lot of new offensive coordinators, a lot of guys that are going to be the only, like DJ Moore. The thing that scares me about DJ Moore is, I mean, I know you got Keon Coleman, I know you got Khalil Shakir, but DJ Moore's kind of the guy there. Is he going to be heavily targeted by defenses? I don't know. So, but yeah, you're exactly right. There's not a lot of slam dunks.
Yeah. What about you, James?
Yeah, it's the same way. And I look at it this year, just like Ron was saying. I was looking at the ADPs and looking at stuff, and I'm like, I see my wide receiver ones, like you said, that top tier 7, 8 guys. I know what they are. Then it starts getting a little murky, and then I can jam about 37 guys into the wide receiver 2 category. And I could probably make an argument for each one of them and say this guy's going to be a wide receiver 2. And I'm like, I genuinely don't know. And it is. It's like you said, so many question marks, so much stuff. Is this guy going to step up? Is Devontae Smith going to turn into Juju Smith-Schuster when Antonio Brown left? And
Right.
like, you have these questions, and you look at stuff, and you're just like, there's Calvin Ridley's and all these people in Tennessee. Is he going to do anything if somebody comes up there as a young guy and rookies all over?
Carnell Tate, like.
Yeah. So, and like I said, I'm like, okay, there's 3 wide receiver 2s from every team, so that's about 90 I've got. So yeah, I'm okay. It's fine.
Yeah, or the Browns who've got like 7 different wide receivers that are all either like been in the league 1 year or 1 or 2 years max, and with along with their tight end.
They can beat the team.
Yeah. No, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I was gonna say they could lead the team in targets, or they may not even suit up. I don't know. Some of the guys down the line, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. Yeah, it's wild.
Exactly. And speaking of tight ends, here we are. Okay, so we know we've got Trey McBride. We know he's good. We've got Brock Bowers. We assume he's good. He had 1 good year. Can he stay healthy and be that good? Because I'd have to say of the major sites that I look at and follow, I feel like it's now 50-50 between Bowers or McBride being their number 1 ranked. And I'm like, okay. Then you get into the Colston Lovelands, Tyler Warrens, Tucker Kraft, Fannin, Kyle Pitts, I guess, section of, they all have the potential, but, and then we get into the old guys, Kelsey, Kittle, Laporta, Ferguson, that guy. I'll let you just bring up a player. You don't have to say that he's going to be good or bad. Just make the decision on your own. Is there somebody that you're like, I like where he should be headed based on his ADP? Are you going to go early with McBride? If it's a tight end premium, that makes a difference. But in a non-tight end premium, McBride and Bowers are going in the second round, sometimes the end of the first. Are you going to take that chance on either one of them? I mean, I've done it in some of my best ball drafts just for fun. I just wanted to see what I could get. I don't think I did badly with them at those spots. But what are you guys' thoughts on the big 2? Are you going to go second round on either one of them? In a hush.
It's too rich for my blood. The Trey McBride, I love him to death. I love what we saw him get. Last year he got unlocked, right?
Yeah.
The touchdown started flowing. Jacoby Brissett was slinging the ball 50 times a game. Mm-hmm. That's great. But there's no guarantee we see that same Cardinals team or what we're going to see. We don't even know if we're going to see Jacoby Brissett. We don't know who's going to start for them at this point, right? And I mean, I'm not going to say Trey McBride's not quarterback proof, but we watched him with Kyler Murray in the season with 1 and 2 touchdowns and doing this kind of stuff and not really breaking into that mold. If you pay a late first, early second for him, he needs to replicate what he did last year. And if he doesn't, you overpaid and maybe you get hurt on it. Brock Bowers, it's the Raiders. I don't trust anything the Raiders are doing. I mean, they made Ashton Janty stop standing up straight, and then when he started doing it again, he looked like Ashton Janty. So I don't know what's happening there. So that's too rich for my blood. I'm not in on McBride or Bowers at the end of the first, early second. What do you think, Ron?
Yeah, so I'm a little biased because the 1 year in Kings Classic, I think I went Kelsey first round, and boy, did that come back to bite me. So I don't know. I'm still a little stung by that. But what I will say now, we'll play a little devil's advocate here. When you look at Trey McBride's total points, his total points would have made him the wide receiver 3 last year. So that's a pretty big advantage for your team, but I'm kind of with you on that. If I'm going to go with one of those top-tier guys, when I'm looking at ADPs right now, I'm going to chase the upside, and I'm going to go – if I want to get one of those guys that could be in that discussion, I might wait till pick 40 and get me Colston Loveland, or I might wait till pick 59 and get my guy Tyler Warren. And I feel a little better about that because I believe that potential is still there. Warren could easily lead in targets. We saw Colston Loveland come on like an absolute nightmare last year, and I don't know that I've seen anybody in any fantasy circle that doesn't think Colston Loveland's going to be one of the top guys. So I think I'm going to wait a little bit. But, yeah, again, that first or second round pick to pay, that's steep. I don't know if I can do it.
I get it. All right, so James, we'll go back to you. What tight end do you like and you think you'll draft a lot of this year?
Well, and I talked about him last year, and I think Ron's right on the money. That's your sweet spot. You start hitting Loveland, you start getting Warren, and then it's Harold Fannin Jr. for me. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end 6 overall last year, 56% clutch rate. I keep talking about him. I'm going to keep just blowing up that horn for him. No Njoku this year, no problem for him. He already was going to lead them in targets. He's going to do it again. He even had 7 carries and a rushing touchdown. They were scheming all kinds of touches to him. I don't care who their quarterback is. I don't care what they're doing there with any of the other stuff. I know this. He's going to touch the ball a ton. He's going to see the middle of the field. He's going to do that. I just don't see any world, as long as he doesn't miss games, where he's not a tight end 1. And if I can get him in that tight end 6, tight end 7, tight end 8 price, somewhere in that vicinity, where you're dropping down in that 70, 80 pick range, I'm perfectly okay with that. And I feel like in a tight end premium league, you're probably going to have some games where he gets 10, 12 targets, 8, 10 catches. He might even, like I said, score from a goal line rush. Who knows? And I'm down for that. Those are sneaky tight end points for me, and I love it.
Got it. Ron, I'll assume it's Tyler Warren, but I'll let you say it.
It's actually not. Yeah.
Okay.
If I was gonna go in that range, of course, I would talk about the love affair I have with Tyler Warren, but we're gonna drop down a little bit, and I'm gonna go with a guy that we've seen flashes of it. He finally gets a chance to shine, I think, and that's Isaiah Likely. And again, he's being drafted higher than Mark Andrews is this year finally. So only had 2 clutch games last year, but again, behind Mark Andrews, you're not going to get a lot of clutch games if he's healthy. We know that that's where Lamar Jackson likes to go to, but he decided to follow John Harbaugh to the Giants. I know they have Theo Johnson, but Theo Johnson is not Mark Andrews. I still believe that Isaiah Likely is the more talented of the two. The only thing that scares me a little bit with Isaiah Likely is he's sitting right now, pick 115, 12th tight end off the board. I could see a little push when we get into draft season of him being maybe a little more than I want to pay if I do want to wait to that range. But as far as upside guys that you can get a little bit cheaper, I think Isaiah Likely is probably where I'm going to go, and I think he's going to be at least in that. I'd say top 12 of our probably most consistent options when the year's over.
Yeah, I actually like quite a few way downs and then up. So my up guy is Tucker Kraft. I've drafted him in a lot of these best ball drafts just because of where he falls, which is that 80 spot. It's like you're in that, all right, round 7, round 6, the big 4 above him are gone. Sometimes Fannon's there, sometimes he's not. I actually just did a draft where I took Kraft and then I took Fannin in the next round. Something like that, I know. Because again, it was like pick round 7, round 8. I'm like, okay, it's best ball, right? These two should be just crushing that. But I also like guys down below. Like, I feel like we could get Chiggy with it again with him in Washington, taking now the Zach Ertz role, which was very prominent when Jaden Daniels was healthy a couple years ago. I like him as value. Dalton Schultz was 10th in total points, 11th in consistency, and where is he at now? Tight end 23. So I've been drafting Schultz as my 3rd tight end in round 19 or 20 of these drafts. So again, it's like, okay, nothing's changed there. They didn't add anybody receiver-wise. So, they're going to run the ball, and if they run the ball well, guess who's going to be open? Tight ends. So I like him too, just as those farther down guys. I mean, I think even around Rondé Gadsden for the Chargers, again, let's remember how much Mike McDaniels loved Jonnu Smith in Miami, and so I feel like there's those little nooks that if you get this guy, I feel like now we all know that we have a better chance of getting hit by lightning twice, so than hitting the right tight end. But I feel like at least there's some logic and there's some numbers behind these guys that makes it like, okay, if I don't get Kraft, Fannin, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'll wait for Gadsden, or I'll wait for, Chiggy, or wait for, and see what happens. I don't think you have to, while it's great to get one of the top guys, like you said, if they don't come through at that level, like you said, if they don't put up the numbers that they've had in the past to get to that spot, is it really helping? Let's remember, Loveland, even though he put up, 5 out of 7 clutch games at the end of the year, still finished the year at 38%, which ranked him 21st. So, Yeah. Now, do we expect it to take that and now play that out for a season? Certainly possible. Warren did well, but was 13th in consistency, 4th in total points, but that's what we get, right? Kyle Pitts, 2nd in total points, 9th in consistency. So we know there isn't much consistency from tight ends. We just got to find them. And we've always talked about the streaming concept of just, and that's where in best ball you can pick 3 or 4 of these guys and it kind of just falls in place, where when you have to start them, it's a little bit tougher, but it definitely has that. So, all right, well, good job, guys. I really think we kicked off a great week. Got 45 minutes in, so tell everybody what you guys are up to and where they can find you on the socials, and we'll take it out from there. Ron.
All right, yeah. Go ahead, Ron.
Unless Ron has a card. Which
yeah, of course. I do. Okay, so I got 2 because it's first night out that we've had so far. So I'm a sucker for 90s and 2000s random autographs. So I got a little Jeff George action right here. Probably the epitome of $1 million arm, 10-cent head right there. Yep. And then pretty little Boomer Esiason, but it's not for the Bengals. It's for the Jets. There, a little autograph there. So couple of legends, I guess, in certain circles. So we're just getting started. Big Guy Fantasy Sports, all kinds of good stuff over there. What we've talked about it. We got a lot of stuff going on over there. But I'm plowing through these offensive line previews, and one of the things that this first year I've done this, and one of the things that's been kind of surprising to me is how key this kind of is in the prep. And it's you'd think it's something that you would look at, but and it's something you look at a little bit, but when you dig a little bit deeper, you can learn a lot about a team and maybe kind of find some consistency in there. So go check that out and check out all the rest of the great stuff we got coming out. And it's only going to keep coming this summer at BigGuyFantasySports.com.
Yep. James.
Yep. And same thing as Ron, just burning out stuff, trying to get as much stuff as we can into the Big Guy Fantasy Sports. And we're going to have some series coming up, soon on ADP and different things like that. Just keep looking at the consistency on the site. If you want to talk football, check out @JKeezy on X Machine. Go check me out there. We'll talk some football, do some other stuff. And, just be on the lookout for a lot of stuff as we gear up to draft season.
Yeah, definitely. And Phil Taylor, our kind of resident coaching philosopher, per se, doing some great stuff with coaching consistency, how these changes in the coaches and the offense coordinators can have an impact. So check all those out as well. And hopefully we'll be here every week. We're going to certainly try through the season, but also don't forget to get your consistency guide on Amazon. Just search for 2026 consistency guide. That will pop up. I guarantee that. Of course, then subscribe to Big Guy Fantasy Sports. Use the code that's in the book to get $10 off. So that's $20 for the whole season. Can't beat that value. And then, of course, Fantasy Football Expo, literally 2 days away from being 1 month away. So it's going to be here fast. James will be there. We're hoping Ron will be there. We know Colby will be there. So many great people are coming. All the big names: J.J. Zacharias and Matt Harmon, Andy Behrens, Jeff Radcliffe, Marcus Graham, Michael Florio, on and on, and plus us. But we're less important. But anyway, thanks again for watching this week. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you next week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.